My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. It's Masterchef Australia season.
This whole world has gone upside down when I'm excited for Masterchef.
You know what happened?
What?
We watched a cooking show.
We actually did. We watched a cooking show that seemed to be judged pretty reasonably.
It was reasonably judged. People seemed to understand what was going on.
That was articulate, not a sign of a hero or a boom boom shake the fucking room anywhere. Although there was a fuck, and I'm so proud of Poe. Thank you.
Aren't we all? That was the highlight. So before we get underway, we kind of probably need to backtrack a little bit because I mean we're kind of hopeful really that there's new people listening. We're fairly certain there possibly are. So welcome
aboard
to this wonderful cacophony of noise that we like to refer to as the Washing Up Podcast. Now, who are we?
Well, just sit down, buckle up, and understand that in this joyride, it's very not safe for work. There's a lot of swearing, a lot of inappropriateness, and quite fucking frankly, a lot of swear words.
Yep. So again, you need to be prepared for anything, really.
Yep.
So we've, for those who are just listening, going, well, you know, I mean, how long have they been? Well, we've done the last few series of MasterChef.
We have, and we've been podcasting about the Great British Bake Off, the Great Australian Bake Off, the Great Canadian Baking Show.
Yes, Bake Off. We still call it Bake Off.
We even tried New Zealand, and we won't mention that.
We won't mention that. We'll pretend that never happened.
The tone is up. We're trying to buoy people's
exactly. And I mean,
spirits.
And I mean, if you want an example of sort of what we do, you can go back and listen to the archives. You can also go back and listen to our preview of this season of MasterChef with the one and only Miss Elena Duggan.
And there's a lot of interviews with past contestants as well through our archives. So if you have a look, you know, you might get to listen to our chat with Khan, our chat with Joe Kendry. There's quite a few around. So.
Yeah, Jess from last season. There's a bunch of Eloise previously as well. There's a lot of people you're going to get to hear from. And I am going to sort of give you a bit of a heads up. We're going to have a lot of people on this year too.
Yes, but we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
We can't underdeliver on this. I guarantee we'll have them on.
And if we say maybe one, if we get one, like let's not. You know, we're in isolation. We have to set reasonable goals.
I've already got 5.
Okay. Fine.
Anyway, be that as it may.
Yes.
We put out every week. Obviously, we do the Twitter. We put out the drinking card every week.
Yep.
There's a drinking. There's 2 this week.
You know, ordering your Dan Murphys and away we go.
Yes.
I hope you're all experimenting with cocktails that you've never tried before.
Now is the time to try a cocktail. There's never been a better time to try a cocktail.
In fact, invent some. You know, name one the Melissa Leong.
Yes, indeed you should. With that, let's get underway, shall we, to have a chat about what the hell this show was and what the hell this show was fucking brilliant. So
it is everything I wanted it to be and more. And I went in with high expectations because I'm like, okay, they've got something to prove. They've got all old contestants back, so the cooking standard has to be fucking high. We've got 3 judges who have all, you know, worked in the industry for fucking years and proved themselves.
Yep.
You know, an contestant as well.
Ex-winner, yeah.
Ex-winner. And we've also got Gordon Ramsay making an appearance.
Yep.
And so it needs to be on point. And you know what? It was so on point. I think the Pointer sisters were like trying to sue MasterChef. Just go, it's too much point in that. That's ours, bitches.
So before anyone here goes, they're just going to be so positive and gushing about this series, if you go back through the archives and listen to our history with MasterChef, it's traditionally turned about halfway through the series, and by the end of the series we've ripped it to shreds. Now, I think we're going to get less of that this year, because I think the 3 major causes of that are no longer there. No grudges will be held in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, and we won't hold punches. If it's something shit, we'll say it's shit.
Yeah, we won't pull out punches and we won't hold grudges. Well, we won't hold punches, apparently. So we're going to do both, and you know what? We won't pull grudges either. No. We will do none of those things.
Yes.
So we opened with a montage, and what I liked about the montage that we opened with was that it basically said that Australia took a British idea and made it good.
Yeah, it's kind of like Australia in general, you know. We took, you know, there was a great civilization here. We sent some refuse from England. I do apologise to the First Nations people listening to this and pay my respects. But, you know, sent the refuse here, and you know what? We did pretty well considering a bunch of dickheads who broke the law were sent across here
as I keep saying
to do stuff.
As I keep saying to people, whenever
we did pretty well.
Whenever I talk to them about convict past, by the way, as I say, not all of them stole handkerchiefs. You know, there were some murderers on that boat. There wasn't, and more importantly, there was one person in particular who was sent out here for bestiality.
Oh my God.
And I know because
Those
I
poor kangaroos.
know because in my scope as maybe an educator around history, I once had a student who wrote me an essay and they had to write a diary entry from the perspective of convicts.
No.
He did.
A plus, please tell me they got
He wrote from the perspective of the guy who screwed the sheep, but then served it for Sunday roast. Anyway,
Well,
that's the sort of weird random.
seasoned it.
That's the sort of weird random shit you're going to hear on this podcast, by the way. So if you're not into it,
yeah,
go
tune
away.
out now.
Yeah, but if you are, welcome. You're our people. So
Yeah.
the montage was really interesting, and then the one thing I loved about Twitter in this montage was they got to the judges, and everyone on Twitter at the same time went, "There's already far too much George."
It's like there should have been more Gary and Matt with just a little sprinkle of George, just to acknowledge that he was a part of it. But fuck me, like that was over seasoning it. Like just let him go. You know, it's like his ghost rose up out of the depths just to have one last boom of the room.
It was galling, but then that faded away because then we got the new judges, and I liked the way they did the intro with the judges because it got them to talk briefly about background and how they view food, and I think it set Jock, Andy, and Melissa out really well.
Absolutely, like there's a few of us who are hardcore who know Melissa Leong from the Chef's Line,
And we've been
we've
been very loudly singing her praises from on high.
fucking years.
Yeah.
Jock Zafrillo, I mean, he's got Arana. I mean, he's been on MasterChef. He's been on the show enough for people to at least recognise him if they've been watching the previous seasons. But he brings a lot of fucking chops, like so many chops. You know, the butcher's out. It's like toilet paper and coals. The chops that he's
And
brought
Andy's
along.
obviously, apart from winning MasterChef, also had Three Blue Ducks, which was a highly regarded restaurant. So all of them
And
have.
he's very likeable. Whenever he's come onto the show,
He's
I like
likeable.
that Andy.
I like that Andy.
He's a nice boy.
Oh, he's a lovely boy.
Invite him round for dinner, will you? I'll cook him a chicken roast.
No, but then he cooked the chicken roast because it's probably a bit better than yours. So
Fuck you, Buchanan. That's the only thing I cook
he's
well.
a gourmet chef, love.
I give
gourmet.
I give no shits. My recipe was passed down through generations of women's weekly cookbooks
So was cholera.
to my mother.
So was
then
cholera.
to me.
Cholera was passed down generation to generation. Anyway, then we got the contestants, and I really have to say that they knew what everyone was thinking, and so they opened with Poe explaining why the hell she was doing this.
It's like,
This is the
why are
point.
you here?
This is the question. Everyone has been basically saying since they announced it, why is Poe here? And Poe was like, well, I came back last year to do the mentoring because I've missed the kitchen.
Yep.
And I really missed the kitchen. And I worked out last year while I was doing that that I was really missing just the way that the MasterChef experience works.
And if we look at the difference between herself and Matt Sinclair last year, Matt couldn't contain himself. At least Poe had a little bit of restraint.
Poe in her head was probably going, well, if they run another All-Stars, I'll do the
I'll do
All-Stars. Whereas last year Matt Sinclair was like, no, I'm now. Now is my chance.
And look, you know, we might, I think we should just be grateful she's there. She's great TV. She's good to watch, and she makes delicious food. So
the benefit you've got with a lot of the people in this series, and we talked about it with Elena the other day, a lot of the people in this series have TV experience now.
Yep.
Not MasterChef TV experience, TV experience. They've hosted different shows, and we'll talk about that as we go through. The benefit of having someone like a Poe there in particular, who is that seasoned on television, is that it makes the interactions with the camera crew and the sound bites and the conversation so much better.
exactly, like she walked into the pantry, grabbed a yam, and she's like, "How's this yam?" And it's like this massive fucking yam.
But also what we got and what we get, and I think.
Just describing food.
We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the judges. But what I think we got, because these contestants have now had A, MasterChef experience, and B, a lot of them TV experience, they can explain the food in a more coherent manner.
Yeah.
And then when the judges ask good questions, and they did, we actually got coherent answers about the food. We did not get Asian flavours.
No.
We got specifics.
Like Melissa going up talking to Sarah Tiong, who I just have to say, yay, she's back. And, you know, she's like, I'm Singaporean, you're Malaysian. Are we going to see, you know, some of those flavours? I think it's okay to have fusion. Like, it was this great...
Yeah, well, we'll get to the fusion conversation was one of my favourite things of the whole evening. And again, as I said, when we feel like there's criticism involved, you'll hear it. So don't think we're just going to sit here and gush non-stop all the time.
Like me, just not enough time for the Vespa, really.
Well, yeah, okay. Let's get
Sorry.
there. So, we also got a couple of other, more MasterChef-y things in the montage, like I'm a dad.
Oh no,
I'm a dad.
look, Callum, I don't know what's going on, but your baby sounds so fucking judgmental. Like, you've got a very I think you should just look at what you've done and understand that it doesn't matter if you've got a very judgy baby. You've done well for yourself, son. 19 years of age you came on to MasterChef. That was 11 years ago. And look how far you've come. Look, the business you've grown, the stuff you've done with your life. Just because one little judgy baby comes around, one little judgy loin fruit, that apparently...
A little judgy loin fruit.
A little judgy loin fruit.
Is that the first ingredient in the first mystery box?
Yes.
A little judgy loin fruit. What does that get paired with?
Probably a... I don't know, a sachet chantilly cream. I'm just off the planet. But what I want to get back to, Callum, is that I don't think you need to prove yourself. You're the dad. Set some boundaries. Postpartum.
Maybe that's why
that
he's
child
on.
should be grateful that it's alive and it's got a caring father.
Maybe that's why he's on
roof
here.
over its head.
He's on here to look at the judges and see how to discipline, how to control, how to structure. He's here for parenting tips.
Just, in the delivery room, this child comes out and goes, well, I guess this will be interesting. You're the father then? What have you got to show me?
Turns around and he goes, I need Jocks on Philo right now.
And then Callum's like, oh, well, I was on MasterChef. Did you win it? No. Well,
back in you go.
I'm not having a father that was just on MasterChef.
And don't come back until you've won.
Yeah. Not until your name is on that plate.
So we've got... So we've got... Well, I mean, he has got his name. Well, I don't know if his name's on the plate. He won All Stars. But,
does that count?
But his name's not on the plate, I don't think.
No.
But this is
Will
where
it go on the plate?
But they've been talking... This is what I wanted to... I actually wanted to get to this point, so you brought it in beautifully. They talked about getting your name on the plate. I don't know if his name's on the plate for All Stars. I didn't see it. I was looking, but I couldn't see it. I keep looking at Elena's, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it might be on the plate. But I don't know if his name's on the plate for All Stars. It feels
So
weird.
how judgy is the baby that Callum's won All Stars and it still wants him on? That's not fucking good enough. Go back and win it again.
Well, he can't win a normal season because he's not allowed back on another season.
No.
So this is the only thing he can win. He can only win All-Star varieties. Realistically, that's all he can do. So, and again, I wonder if he wins this one now, does he officially get regarded as champion of champions for winning both All-Stars, basically?
Do you think he can do a Johnny Logan?
What, and then be the person behind somebody's victory?
Yes, exactly. And then
tour
rush
them
out.
to glory.
Then at the end, when the confetti's coming down,
Sinclair them.
Yeah, he runs out, grabs the plate, and just thanks Australia for.
We haven't even got into the episode yet, so let's get to the most important part of the whole evening.
What was that?
There's only one part of the evening that matters to me.
What was that?
Let's go to the drinking game, shall we?
Oh, the drinking game.
So, no, it's not actually
Not even the episode.
Well, no, it is, because what's on the drinking game card tonight?
Okay.
Vespa! I was terrified. With all of the changes that were going on, I was terrified the Vespa was gone. I thought they might have given it to one of the other judges. I thought George might have taken it and sold it to try to pay off some of his debts to the ATO. I thought the Vespa might be gone. Or at the very least, again, as we've pointed out, possibly rented out for an Uber Eats delivery driver. No, it turns out it's still there. Yep. So the Vespa is on the drinking game card. Now, to explain the drinking game card, every time something pops up on that card, take a shot of anything, really. Again, Mel Buttle, the great host of the Great Australian Bake Off, has suggested also cheesels if you don't want to drink. That's an option. So what was on the card tonight? I'll tell you what was on the card tonight. Unfinished business. We got that in the fucking montage.
Yes, we did.
All right. Tessa said that in the montage.
Unfinished business.
It's weird to be
drink.
It's weird to be back in the competition. I think we got one of those. I can't remember for sure. I know people couldn't work out where the PowerPoints were, which was funny. Vespa, drink. Ramsay makes someone question their life choices. No, he was positive, Gordon, tonight, which he normally is on MasterChef. Talk about having to represent their season. We did get a season 5 represent. Boom. Parfait. No. thankfully.
Oh,
we've avoided them.
We're beyond the parfaits now. We've got strawberry pebbles.
Yeah, we didn't get, and it was interesting, we didn't get even the ice cream. What we got was gelato.
I like this.
We're stretching.
It's turned it up. Do you reckon they got a briefing, a severe briefing on the first day? Don't you fucking dare come in with a dough mould, a parfait, a sorbet.
I know, but there was fears. There was fears being made. They collapsed.
Oh, good. That's right.
Yeah, that was
Jess's prolapse.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't even Jess. It was no, it wasn't. It wasn't Jess who made the spheres that fell down. It was what's his shaved head?
Reese.
Reese.
Oh, Reese.
Yeah, Reese made spheres and they collapsed, and I said that's what you get.
The cursed.
So,
cursed
reference to lack of tweezers. No, we didn't get that so far, but remember, it's early. I just look away for a second disaster. We didn't get one of those. For new players, the I just look away for a second disaster is whenever you get the narrative where they're like, oh, I just look over and see what's going on over here, and then they cut back to the oven and there's smoke pouring out of it. Yes. Or the stovetop and something's boiled over the top, or the kitchen's on fire, as it happened last year in episode 1, if you remember, where they set fire to the kitchen.
Yes. My bet is that the tweezer reference is going to come from Simon, because
probably because he's got the tweezers.
George's, yeah.
I've always looked up to insert contestant here.
Yeah.
We sort of got that. There's
a lot of Gordon Ramsay love going on.
No, we got a bit of
Reynolds.
We got a lot of Reynolds love. Jess was in there, so we got a lot of Reynolds love because poor Jess. She's going to have to get over that pretty fast. I'm just saying. All right, so let's get into the actual episode itself, because we walk in, and once you walk inside, the first thing you see is Gordon fucking Ramsay.
Yeah, just standing there, backlit, smoke coming out the sides. This is before all the hibachis hit the table.
I loved his introduction too, where he goes, "I'm Gordon, it's nice to meet you," and Laura just goes, "We know who you are." And it was funny because there were people that he knew, obviously, and he said that, and people that he'd never met before. So that was where it got really funny, was watching this idea of the couple of people that he did know, and so he could call some people by name.
Yeah.
Like, for example, he looked at Reese, and he called Reese by name straight up and asked him what happened with the hair. But I know told Reese that it looked like he'd already crapped himself. That's right. That wasn't the hair, it was already crapped himself. And then they got Gordon to introduce the judges. Now, I saw a lot of people online going, he's there to babysit them, he's talking them through it, he's getting them through it. No.
Fuck off.
Let's flash back to the last couple of times Gordon has been in MasterChef. He threw the 3 fucking judges out last time. They didn't appear for the whole week, if you remember. They turned up to judge at the end. They weren't in the kitchen. Like, it wasn't even a case of they were there, but he took centre stage. If you remember, he did the whole challenge where he banned them from the kitchen and he ran the lot of it, right? This is not so much him babysitting them through. It's good to have Gordon Ramsay introduce the judges. Because
for newcomers who aren't aware of the chops,
he's got
Melissa, Jock, and Andy.
He's got the ability to sell it.
Exactly, and he's familiar. People trust him, so it's the way he was able to. And I think it would have been very awkward, just to walk in and have Melissa, Andy, and Jock standing there
saying, "Hi, we're here to judge MasterChef.
Yeah,
this is who we are." Gordon Ramsay can say, "I know these people. Like everyone knows Arana. Everyone knows Arana. Andy and I, we know each other. And Melissa, some of the stuff she writes is incredible. Now she gets to say it to your face."
Oh, I could hear her wax lyrical for fucking days.
And there's also, I know, a lot of people who are still on the Melissa hates this show, why is she on a bandwagon? Now, the point that we've made a number of times, and she made, Melissa's point when they asked her about those tweets and deleting those tweets and, do you take that back, was, no. I 100% believe everything I said, but the reason I'm going on this show is I believe we're going to be given the chance to actually make a change and make progress and show something positive to Australia.
Absolutely. We talked about this in the discussion we had with Elena, and that's we are now a sophisticated audience that's ready for the next level of education and discussion and presentation of ideas on the MasterChef platform. Kudos to Matt and Gary and even George for what they brought for the past 10 years, but that was from another era, from a less sophisticated. It's like if you go back 40 years ago where you could get a cappuccino.
Yep, my cappuccino, yeah.
People would laugh you out of the kitchen if you came back from the 60s now. If you were just a time traveller from the 60s, walked in and go, "Oh, I'd like a cappuccino. Oh, that's just so crazy and modern." You'd be like, Fuck me, mate. Get a flat white.
And they're talking
like a
about
macchiato.
or talking about the idea of, we've talked about the Chinese restaurant. Someone ordering a sweet and sour pork and thinking it was the most exotic height of sophistication dish.
Yeah.
And coming back and everyone going, what do you mean? No, that's not really. It's taste change and experiences change.
Yep.
What Melissa Leong was saying at the time was right in the middle of when MasterChef was cookie cutter.
Yep.
And had started to go down. It had the innovation sections of it,
Yep.
but it also started to get a bit formulaic. And again, we've talked about this on the show before. The audience has talked about this on Twitter. Last year, the audience talked long and hard about the fact that the judges looked like they were getting tired, worn out, and the formula was getting old.
Yep.
Right? It got to the point where people could predict who was going home because we know the editing.
Yep.
Because the editing was so obvious that you knew who was going home.
And
we
there
know
were
the
times
edit.
when the judges were just grasping at straws to send someone that wasn't their favourite to go
Yep,
home.
and you'd listen to the narrative and you go, I know where this is going.
Yep.
You get the feeling with these three, they felt most of the night, they felt like a breath of absolute fresh air through the middle of that.
And it's
kitchen.
only one female presence, but it really makes such a difference when you don't have the fucking sausage party whacking itself around the kitchen, just slapping the balls on the benches and broing it up, because fuck, that got old last year.
So the only thing we did get as a relic, I think, was I'm fairly sure that Jacques Zonfrillo's suit was Gary's.
Yes. I am sure it was either Gary's or was some offcuts of Matt's. Like, I did put up on Twitter who wore it better, because there is a almost play for play suit between Jock and Gary there.
Yeah. But I mean, it was the only thing I looked at. That's a similarity. But the rest of it, I thought was real. I thought it was really well done. And I thought that Gordon also explained his backstory and experience with all of them, as the ones that he does have. In particular, his relationship with Jacques Zonfrillo. They worked together in London in the 90s, so he knows Jacques in particular.
Yeah.
I also think that during the episode, and we talked about it on the preview, but there were a lot of people online who were sort of hearing it for the first time. The different levels of, I've worked with this person, I've been on with this person, I've been on with that person, I worked in their kitchen, we've done TV shows, we're best friends. And early on there, I think there were some people worried going, here comes the close relationship and there's going to be favouritism. I think they did a really good job of addressing it straight up.
Yep.
And saying, for example, that, Andy's worked with Ben, and
Laura worked at Jock's restaurant.
There are a bunch of them who worked at Arana, right?
Yeah.
But the reason that happened is because it's one of the top restaurants in Australia. And
if you can get your ass in there, you get
work
your ass
there.
in there.
Andy's worked with a lot of people in TV. He's worked with a lot of these people as well previously. And they were upfront and they were honest with it, but they also said straight up no favouritism. And I don't think it came across as favouritism. I think they came across as a real, genuine personal connection.
Well, the
and I
judges
think
have got everything to lose if they show favouritism.
That's the thing. They are not. There's no benefit to them.
No.
To being, we're playing favourites. It doesn't make any sense for the judges to play favourites and piss off an entire audience early.
Yeah.
So I think that, honestly, I think they did a very, very, very good job of lining it all up and explaining what was going on. I think they did a very good job of doing that and not basically allaying the audience's fears.
Yeah.
This is not the same show.
So let's get into the cooking, shall we? Is that what we're up to?
We are up to the cooking.
All right, let's cook.
So
Let's get those burners boiling.
The challenge that they set was you needed to make a dish worthy of winning. I don't mind that, by the way, because we always talk about we're okay with there's got to be one cook whatever you want challenge.
Yeah.
Now, you've got to remember, there's no audition process. Normally, the cook whatever you want is the audition process.
Yep.
And so, you go, okay, they should be more structured. This one I like because it was cook whatever you think would win. What they're actually doing here is quite clever. They're playing to where do you think the standard of this competition is.
Yep.
And then they're changing the standard of the competition up. Right? So what they're doing is they're going, where do you think the standard of this competition sits? This is where you think it sits. All right, now let's look at where everyone else thinks it sits.
Yeah.
And then when, for example, Reynolds made his dish, and you just saw everyone else who made a dessert go, oh, fuck. Right? Yep. And then Dani made hers. And you saw everyone when Dani brought hers up going, oh,
fuck, yeah.
Wow, this is tough. And I mean, Poe, you saw what happened with Poe, and we'll talk about that in a
stress
moment.
hitter,
But this is the thing, is that it also puts pressure on these people because these are people who have set high standards in their head.
Yep.
And so they've set these high standards, and they know they're going out there to go, I'm better than everyone else here.
Yep.
I've got to prove it. And especially those with the high profile. And I mean, I know there was a bit of debate going on about who the heavy hitters are. I'm sorry, there's two. It's Poe and it's Reynolds. And that's not saying that the others are not at their level, but I'm saying of everyone in this competition, the two people in this show that have the most to lose in terms of a credibility gap thing would be Poe and Reynolds. And those two set the bar. Like you saw, Poe's dish was really good, but it wasn't exceptional.
No,
and she was disappointed. Reynolds went all out.
Yep.
Episode 1, he went all out.
Absolutely. He's like, where does the bar sit? This is where I think the bar sits. And I love this because they brought in a challenge that asked them to make the best, like to bring out the best in what is there. And I love that. I'm here for it. It's positive, and we need more of that at the moment.
And what they did that was absolutely fantastic. And I damn near gave this a standing ovation. When they announced that the first thing they would be cooking for was an immunity pin.
Yeah.
Then they took a breath and they said, but it's the only immunity pin.
Oh, thank the fucking gods.
Look, we've talked a lot on this show about the idea that the immunity pin had become a problem because the immunity pin had become something where if you win 3 immunity pins early on, you're in the grand final because you just use them like a weapon.
But it also became a thing where, there was a bit of...
Someone's in a bit of trouble.
Politicking.
Quick, we'll get them into a challenging, slip them an immunity pin.
Yep.
That may not have been what actually happened, but that was the perception.
Jesus, it came across.
That was the perception. And we've talked a lot about perception and reality in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And I like the fact up front they went, there's only one, this is it.
Yeah.
And I like it because there is now a strategy involved, but it's not this other strategy we've seen of it being weaponized.
Yeah.
You've got to work out when is an appropriate time to use the only immunity you've got.
And the other thing that we have hit hard about in the past is about when you're giving out an immunity pin, taste everyone's. If you're going to set the bar to be everyone's, like an immunity pin, that means that you're free of all things and rise above people. You cannot just taste 5 people and then decide who gets a chance at it.
Now, this came up, and I had a bit of a discussion online going about this, where there were a couple of people who raised the fact they didn't show everyone's being tasted.
Yeah.
Here's the way I look at this. First of all, it's quite clear they did taste everybody's. Our complaint is not they haven't shown them tasting everybody's. Our complaint is they haven't tasted everybody's. They call 5 people up, and that's it. Literally, that's it. They only call 5 traditionally when they're doing the immunity, right? So sometimes 3, most of the time it's 5. They tasted everybody's dish. What you also have to remember is 2 seasons ago, they had that first week, every episode ran double length, and they killed the audience by the end of week 1.
And particularly when it's a family aimed audience. Like I look at my niece who loves Masterchef, but she ended up not being able to watch it because it'd go past her bedtime.
It still ended up being a 2-hour episode.
Yep.
But you can't show them really tasting all 24.
No.
The montage of mediocrity showed a large percentage.
Yep.
And thank you, Twitter, for adopting that phrase and
Hashtag montage of mediocrity.
taking it into your bosom.
It's not like bitch.
The montage of mediocrity was shown, and it showed most of them. There were a couple of people that weren't shown, but I guarantee you their dishes were tasted. You could tell everyone was tasted. It was just a timing thing.
Yeah. The editors had to make a choice. Are we going to tell a narrative and let you do a bit of a deep dive into letting the judges have a conversation with the contestants and have a bit of, backstory? Because we do need a little bit of meat on the bone. It couldn't just be a rush. I think they got the balance right.
If you try to cover all 24, you're not going to get anywhere. And the thing that is always tricky with the first, and we talk about this all the time, it's helped a little bit in this series because they're all returning contestants.
Yeah.
But normally in MasterChef, you don't know everybody's name until about halfway through.
No, and we know 99.9%. There's a few people who go, I know that face. Like, I was staring at Dani going, I know you, and I liked you, but you had shorter hair, and I can't remember your name, and you've gone, it's Dani. And I'm like, oh, right, yep, okay, cool.
So the point
You can clock it quicker.
So the point is that, you can clock it a little bit quicker. And we said, you're going to spend a lot of this series for the first couple of episodes going, oh, that's right. I remember who you are. I did that with Amelia because she was one of my favourites in that season and I really wanted her to win. And then I haven't thought about it for a while. And I saw her tonight cooking. I went, oh, shit, that's Amelia.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm so pleased she's back.
And for those of us who want to do a deep dive, there's so much resources and material that we can actually go and Google and find out a bit more about what people have been up to. But as the show progresses, we're going to get that. We're going to get what, Rosa's been up to.
If they haven't really shown them tonight, probably celebrate a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it means they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. If they're not getting targeted.
If they got a lot of coverage and you're not quite sure why, it usually means bye-bye. Going home for a bit. Because you've also got to remember the other initiative they brought in, and before we get to we're about to get to food, don't panic. Mm-hmm. The other initiative they brought in...
Eventually we'll get to the food.
There's not a lot of talk, though, about the food. Yeah. The other initiative they brought in tonight, which I thought was interesting and demonstrates partially what this show is about, is they're putting everybody's Instagram up on the screen.
Yep.
Right. This is publicity as well. You have to remember this is a publicity vehicle, and people wouldn't go on it if they weren't going to get some publicity.
Look, we're probably going to find that there's going to be book launches, that there's people on Channel 10 TV shows, that someone's got a new fucking restaurant opening up or something that's going to tie into this. Fair enough.
Now, we set for the food.
Yep.
And then, before we even got to the food... The fucking music cue guy was having a coronary. Now, we have to talk about him. We've talked about this guy. I'm assuming it's a male. I may be, obviously.
How would we call them? Them. Mix. But they...
Individual A.
Individual music.
Person X.
Person harmonica.
All right, person X. All right, so person X. So person X who runs the music. Where are you going to from this point? Because you're in episode 1 and you are setting the bar really high for the emotion.
Like, I'm expecting by the time we get to the finale, they're going to have a full fucking opus going. It's going to be the MC opus. Person X is going to have written a score that just transcends life itself. And we're going to be carried away, both visually and audially, into a Masterchef experience extravaganza.
Or we're going to go the opposite, pure silence.
Just
gong.
No, what's the music from the computer games? Like the 8-bit kind of...
No, I kind of feel like we're going to go a bit eyes wide shut by the end. Just a single gong. Just gong.
So it's going to be the devolution of music.
Gong. Think about the emotion in just a single gong. Anyway.
Let's get back to, banging bones against logs.
So we're sort of going to cover what was cooked tonight. So...
What did you want to eat? You looking at?
There were a couple of things.
I was there for Amina's dumplings.
I was there for the dumplings. I was there for Sarah's.
Oh, yes.
Sarah Tiong. We've talked a lot about being massive fans of Sarah Tiong.
I just see that prawn just cracking. The prawn head cracking in Melissa's face.
I liked a lot of the options. I thought Ben was trying to, what I thought was really funny too, Ben was trying to play to his connection to Andy. Yeah. And it failed miserably. Because he wasn't really featured.
Yeah.
So he didn't actually succeed in what he was trying to do there.
I felt for Hayden because his natural place now to cook, right, is on a beach. Like I think he needs to bring in a tray of sand to stand on.
Yeah, you think he needs
maybe
to
have some ocean wave music.
You think he needs to be surfing the menu? Is that what you think?
Yes.
Anyway,
I think he just needs to be in the north, like Cape Byron or something. We're way up north.
If only somebody in TV's thought of that. Anyway, so Hayden was interesting because
the smell of sex wax wafting on the breeze.
Hayden basically decided to do a steak and then a gratin and then some veggies. And as they pointed out when they got to the judging, a whole fucking restaurant of food.
Like, in Bake Off, we would call this going the full Flora.
Yeah.
Because when Flora was set a challenge, this is Great British Bake Off, it would be like, Flora, cook a chocolate cake. Or you get like 10 dozen macarons. You get like 6 profiteroles,
it'd be
towers.
There'd be a croquembouche over the top of the cake.
Probably like a gâteau. Just a whole like fucking sculpture made out of
wafers and
Genoese sponge.
Exactly. And, you get a million things you didn't need.
Crackers,
and I liked
bagels, pancakes, just everything.
So I thought the judging, when we get to that bit of judging on him,
leavened and unleavened bread.
I thought the judging was quite good on him when they explained it. And let's sort of quickly talk about that. I thought that where the show benefited from these new judges was the explanations.
Yes.
I thought there was a lot of care taken over explaining and asking the right questions and getting the right answers.
Yep.
So, for example, when they talked to Dani about her food and she was making Sri Lankan, and they said, "What is your connection to this cuisine? Why have you picked Sri Lankan? What is your connection to it?"
Sri Lankan?
Yeah, Sri Lankan.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
And she met her husband in Sri Lanka. He ended up being a Kiwi.
Yeah.
But she met him in Sri Lanka. So that was the connection that she drew. But she said, I met him in Sri Lanka, and that was the link to actually doing that. I liked the fact they actually asked questions about how they were connected to a cuisine. They also talked specifically about the cuisines in play. Because like they would ask them questions, like as you said before with Sarah, where they said about, where Melissa Leong went, I'm from Singapore, you're Malaysian.
Yep.
What about these flavours and these flavour profiles? When they went over and when Jock originally asked Dani about the curry.
Yeah.
And said, have you had this before? And she goes, have you had this? Yes, well, I had it over in Sri Lanka. I was there for my wedding, and I had it, and I've eaten this curry in particular, and I know these flavours, and I know this texture, and I know all of this stuff. And it was so different to just Asian flavours.
Yeah.
And the explanation behind it, and then we mentioned it before, Melissa Leong's explanation of fusion.
Yeah. Now, I feel that Melissa is making a conscious choice to enter this sphere to be an educator. There is a lot of privilege in being a white person in that, we can get away with saying Asian flavours, but then, hypocritically, smashing someone if they don't know the difference between Italian and French. When we, and I freely admit I am still learning about the different cuisines in our local region. And I think that's something that we need to do as Australians because we are a part of the Asian, like the South Pacific, Asiatic. What's it called? You're the geography person.
Asia, Southeast Asian region.
The Southeast Asian region. Okay. See, I need to learn even the district. The district.
Well done.
District 9, apparently.
You need to learn what a district is.
I'm getting into, we're in quarantine and I'm still...
And Ferguson Channel.
Okay.
So, what we liked about what we liked to think about the way this was done was they all did a lot to ask questions to get these people who should know to explain behind their dishes. It wasn't a case of just slapping food together and going, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It was explain the background. Why are you doing that? What is your connection to the cuisine? Do you understand the flavours that you're cooking?
Yeah.
Do you understand how to balance it? I actually liked, of all of the ideas, I thought the most interesting idea out of everybody was actually Poe going back to her audition dish.
Absolutely, and revisiting it.
I thought that was interesting because I think she wanted to demonstrate the idea of how far she's come.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is the first thing I ever cooked in MasterChef. This was my audition dish to get in. And I want to do it again.
Yep.
And again, as they said with the judging, every part of it was great, except...
Yep.
She forgot an element. But I love Poe's reaction to forgetting something.
She's like,
we might be in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah.
But
I was
also,
stressed.
you got one of your favourite moments of the night when Gordon came over and said, Poe, how are you?
And she's like, fucking great, wasn't it?
It's good to fucking see you.
That's right.
It's like, Poe, swearing.
Yeah. Am I allowed to say that? I like how people were asking permission from Gordon if they can swear. Like he's the one doling out the fucks.
Yeah.
But it's lovely to have a bit of swearing on telly, and I'm sure it was after the 8:30 curfew when the kiddies are supposed to be in bed, although they're all being homeschooled at the moment, so you could technically count this as home economics, couldn't you?
You could, 100%.
Like, this is food tech.
This is hospitality.
Hospo,
so,
there we go.
Gordon also stirred Poe up a little bit by saying to her, you're the favourite. But he's not lying.
No.
Like, everyone who came in there when they were asked about who the favourite would be, there's two people they named, and we mentioned them before.
Yeah.
It's Poe and Reynolds.
Yeah.
And when we talked to Elena the other day in particular on the preview, as we said, you got to look at the portfolio of restaurants that Reynolds actually has under his... It's not just Koi. Everyone looks at Coy in the dessert bar and goes, it's all about desserts.
All about the dessert.
He's been working on everything.
Yep, he's doing savoury.
He's far more well-rounded than I think a lot of people think he is, and I think that might really appear.
Doing drinks.
Yep. So I think this might appear when we get
some entrees on his menu.
This might appear, I think, over the course of the next few weeks.
Some appetizers.
So
he's possibly also offering soups. I'd like to see more soups on MasterChef. Maybe some hot pots. I presume Reynolds would have a few hot pots.
Anyway, as Kristie slowly
salads?
disintegrates in front of me. No salads, that's what Sarah Claire's there for. Carrots.
That's it, carrot lady.
Lots of sliced carrots. So we then got...
She's been busy this weekend.
Gordon Ramsay.
Feeding the Easter Bunny.
Gordon Ramsay standing up the front, looking up the back of Dani, who was grating a coconut. And, Gordon is standing there, and she's using the hand grater. She's going round and round and round. You can hear the... And Gordon stands there, and just to him, didn't look at the camera. He just looked and goes, what the fuck is she doing? And went up. It's like, hey, love, how you going, dear? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then he looks at her and goes,
10 minutes.
And then looks down at it again and goes, you sure you got enough coconut? She's like, no, I'm still going. It was just this weird sort of, she's having a conversation with Gordon Ramsay and she's just grating a coconut.
That's most of our fever dreams in life. I'm there grinding a coconut while chatting to Gordon fucking Ramsay.
So,
yep.
I also thought that what was interesting was the way they talked about Jess. So Jess is there talking about being, at the time, the youngest contestant. Mm-hmm. And she's then talking about all of her experience and she's so much wiser here at 21. And I'm like, you cannot sell to me the idea that Jess is now a grizzled veteran of MasterChef at 21. She's not a grizzled veteran.
I look back on my life and the years between 19 and 21, and all I really see is a more sophisticated taste in drinking coming about and more smarter way of doing it and working out how to smuggle alcohol into clubs so I didn't have to buy it there.
That's that moment where you get, and I always love watching the evolution where you're from 18 to 21, you look back at 21 and you go, oh, my 18-year-old self is so stupid. I know so much.
I'm so sophisticated now. I pasta from a bowl that I've made myself.
Wait until you clear 30.
Oh, hun.
Then you'll look back. Once you clear 30, and I'm sure once you clear 40 and 50 and so on, you look back at the previous decade and go, what the fuck was that?
I want to, because I just turned 40 this year, so I really want to be a bit more reckless. So when I hit 50, I'm like...
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Like, look at me in my wild 40s. Just, walking out on the street during quarantine.
What I really enjoyed...
Risking it by waiting 5 seconds to put on hand sanitizer rather than 10.
What I really enjoyed, by the way, with this, we talked about the personal angles before. I liked the Laura storyline thing all the way through it, with Jock in particular.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where she was coming up with a dish, and you could just see Jock up front had this worry for his reputation. Because they're talking about Irana and they're talking about... So he's looking at
everything I learned from Jock. He's like, oh...
And he's like, oh, if this fucks up... He goes, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know. I don't get it. And then later on in the judging, I loved when they were talking about how amazing it was. And he's like, how old is she? And she goes, she's 25. And I'm like, what? Well, yeah, 25. And it was just this moment of, as he said in the judging, I'm so proud. He goes, it's an Irana dish. And he goes, not favoritism. He goes, I'm proud.
Yep.
Because that reflects really well, I think, on all the training. And so I'm so happy.
Absolutely. Now, what I'd love to see now is Laura's done homage to Irana. I want to see her move and show us Laura what she's passionate about.
Yeah. So...
Although now I look back on my 25-year-old self and think, fuck.
It was a bit interesting, I think, because we actually had... I think the problem a lot of people had with trying to understand the first episode... It was a food show.
Yep.
It was a genuine food show.
Absolutely. We got the same kind... I felt like I was getting the same depth of, kind of connection and knowledge that was being imparted on the chef's line. And yeah, that's where Melissa's from. But just that genuine... There's a lot of people there who are genuine foodies who are there to enjoy themselves and share food and
I know there were people that were worried
talk about food.
I know there were people that were worried about charisma.
Yeah.
And we're like, I'm not seeing the charisma. No, you're not seeing Gary, Matt and George being Gary, Matt and George. There was a boatload of charisma in there.
There's a
Contestant, you've also got to remember the contestants are bringing a lot of that too.
Yes.
The judges are bringing a lot of that. Gordon Ramsay is bringing a lot of that. You don't want everyone in your face immediately because it's going to be too much.
I think they may also be mistaking charisma
for overpowering.
For penis.
Yes.
You know, like just too much boys.
Yes.
You know, for the boys. Let's do this for the boys. Hey, bro. Yeah, bro.
And
Where's my penis, bro? Oh, shake my testicles. Yeah, wipe my butt.
Anyway.
My testicles.
Anyway.
Ooh, I'm going to get your penis and show that my penis is bigger.
Anyway.
Let's do a penis saw.
Anyway. Whoa. The way they did some of the matey stuff that was there, I don't think it was it wasn't toxic masculinity overplayed.
No, it was in proportion to what it should be, which is Ramsay and Jock had a pre-existing connection. Andy and
Ben had
a pre-existing connection,
and Hayden had a bit of connection with Hayden as well.
Yeah,
again, but it was just a really it was friendly, but it wasn't blokey overboard, you know. And again, when they showed the clip they showed of Ben and Andy. Yeah. Was like when Ben was in tears, emotional about the support he was getting from Ben on the show, from Andy on the show.
Yeah,
so they weren't even showing this sort of in this matey blokey. You know, again, what we saw from the 3 previous judges, not all of them, 2 of them mainly, in terms of the way that they felt the need to insert themselves into every narrative as an alpha.
Yeah,
and I don't think that Andy and Jock at any point in time inserted themselves as an alpha.
No.
And neither did Ramsay, to be honest.
No, they were just there. People with experience and skills, recognising that there are 24 people with experience and skills willing to step back into the MasterChef kitchen to undertake this process and to give them a platform on which to do it. Are we going to talk a bit more about the food?
Yeah, we are. So let's talk a bit more about the food, shall we?
The food.
So, more importantly, and I mentioned this before, I like Reese. I really like Reese.
Yeah.
But when his fears failed, it felt like MasterChef karma.
Yes, it's like you don't walk up.
We are in a new era.
This is a winning dish, Reese.
Embrace the new era of food.
At least introduce a trapezoid.
So let's talk about Reynolds White Noise. Now,
my favourite part of the whole night was Melissa and Reynolds talking about his dish.
It was brilliant.
I can't remember what they said. All I know, it was poetry in motion. I'm like, I'm here for this.
The sophistication in the language was incredible. We'll come to the language because that was the other part of the judging that I really appreciated. But I liked, for example, when Reynolds goes, I have to use liquid nitrogen. I'm going, we don't have to use liquid nitrogen. You just played up a normal dish. And Ben Tribbiani on Twitter responded with, I didn't know where those canisters were in the MasterChef kitchen, and my response was just underneath the domes. To which he responded with, if it was in the fridge, it would have been under the duck. And I'm like, you need to get over the duck thing. You need to get over the duck
alone.
But look, I thought that what Reynolds did with the white noise thing, and again, look, we have never been the biggest Reynolds fans. Don't hate him.
No.
But don't fawn over him either.
Really respect him.
I respect him, but don't fawn over him. I thought that was a really impressive dish.
Reynolds came here and didn't phone it in. It's not that he's here simply to promote something.
No, he turned up and competed.
He turned up and he went, okay, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to present something that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, and I thought that was sensational.
Particularly when you saw Melissa cut into the strawberry pebbles, and just that whole cherry on snow.
And the way that it burst, and then they cut the other one in half, it was absolutely perfect. And you're like, that's brilliant. But Dani's dish.
Yeah.
I loved what Dani did because it wasn't as pretty as a Reynolds dish.
No.
But it was good food.
Yeah.
And what we got was a judgment based on good food. And Dani cooked really good food.
And as the judges said, this wasn't like a decision that they just went, yeah, we're giving it to her.
No, we'll talk about the judging in a minute because the way they judged.
I fucking loved it.
I've got a lot to talk about.
Here for it.
100% got a lot to talk about with that judging. So it was interesting to watch the way that they were cooking tonight. I thought that some people tried to do other things. You got, for example, we mentioned the dumplings. I was there for the dumplings.
So many dumplings. Just Brandon and Amina just making dumplings.
Oh.
And wasn't it good to see Brandon back in the thing without... I wonder how much counselling he had to go through and not a Cobram bottle in
There
sight.
were a bunch of blue bandages, and Khan did confirm that he might have cut himself on a bottle, not a Cobram bottle. Must be said, wasn't a Cobram bottle.
No.
But people had cut themselves. You could see that. But luckily, Brandon Pang had not taken off an arm or a leg or any form of limb.
Or, just dissected an organ from his body. Just a vital organ, just a kidney, saving the liver.
I assume he's not allowed to carry the olive oil back and forward.
He's got a minder. Just someone in the production that is
Yes,
assigned
master.
to him.
Yes, master.
I don't think it's Igor. Possibly, maybe Nathan. Maybe the Trent. Ninja
Trents.
Trent. Ninja Trents.
The Trents. Finally, a use for all of the Trents stuck.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, don't know if you saw it on Twitter, but Harry
Yeah.
tweeted out.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Oh no, Harry still got me blocked.
No, he tweeted.
Please unblock me, Harry.
He tweeted out tonight.
Yeah.
He took the for Nathan and changed Nathan to Harry. It was the parsnip on the plate with the four, and I'm like, it's well played, sir. Well played, sir.
Yes.
And please unblock Kristie, Harry. We'd like to. She never said anything bad about you. She loves you. Anyway, it was. Look, I thought the food was interesting. I'm going to make mention of this once. Because we're going to have to mention it at some point. I got asked a bunch of questions tonight. I'm going to address it. I'm going to address this once.
What's your PIN number? What's your social security number?
I get asked all those things, but I'm going to address this once.
Will you help me, a prince in Nigeria?
I'm going to address this once. We're
During
not
this
going to come.
COVID epidemic.
We're not going to come back to it and have a conversation about it again.
Okay.
I do want to address it once though, before at the start, and then if anyone has any comments afterwards, we can refer them back.
Okay.
They talked to Ben Ungerman.
Yeah.
Now, he did not do an ice cream. He went with something a bit different. So, which was good to see. Not doing an ice cream, that's really handy.
His ice creams are amazing, though.
Now, got a lot of questions and comments about the press conversation around Ben. I'm not going to go into anything on that press conversation.
No, we don't know.
Nobody knows an answer, is the answer to that. What I will say is, I am anticipating, and I could be wrong in this, I am anticipating something close to, if you watch RuPaul's Drag Race, I'm anticipating the sherry pie edit,
Yeah.
where Ben will be there and he will be covered, but not really as a focal point.
Yeah.
Right? That's all we're going to say about that situation at all. We're not going to readdress it. We're not going to talk about it because there's nothing for us to talk about or anyone else to talk about. There's been enough stuff out in the media as it is, and we don't need to add to it. But we also can't sit there and ignore Ben.
Yeah.
So, and we're not going to ignore Ben. If he does something that's worthwhile on the show, we'll mention it. But I just want to say straight up, yep, hear loud and clear, hear everyone loud and clear. Nobody knows any answers. I expect there'll be a sherry pie edit and there'll be minimal focus. Anyway, moving on from that, because I wanted to get that out of the way so we had all that nice and covered.
Yep.
So let's have a bit of a chat now about the judging, because the judging is the other area where things changed.
Absolutely. So in the past, we've seen a lot of just bullshit banter, really. Just token gestured words, some buzzwords, some...
Hero of the day, hero of the plate, Masterchef'd it up.
Who really brought it? Who put their heart and soul on a plate?
Yeah, what's me on a plate? No one said that's me on a plate, thank fuck.
Oh, fuck me.
But
Fuck me on a plate.
we got real language.
That'd be really uncomfortable, particularly if it's like a glass plate and it breaks. Like,
Anyway.
that would hurt.
Anyway, we got real words.
Imagine showing up to the emergency department after being fucked on a plate and having to explain that to the triage nurse. They're like, okay, and why are you here, Miss Stanford? Oh, I've just got a plate stuck in my buttocks.
Okay, the fact that
Why? I wanted to serve me up on a plate.
The fact that the plate is stuck in your buttocks raises a bunch of other questions, none of which we have time for on this podcast.
Okay, we'll save that for the...
Save that for the plate in the ass podcast.
Yep, okay.
Right, it's right there later on. You've gone early.
Yep.
Keep that powder dry.
Right.
All right, so they use straight up front language.
Yep.
In the judging tonight. It was good. It was real words. There was real meaning behind the words. There was genuine conversation. It was good. There was guided criticism and guided advice. It wasn't a case of vague answers that lead people down the wrong path. They talked about, for example, Hayden turns up with all of it. did his cry about he was worried that he wasn't good enough, he was only a TV chef and blah, blah, blah.
Melissa, like, maybe not all of this next time.
Yeah, well, the judging, when they got up there and Hayden, like, they put it all up there and they went, it's a whole restaurant. And Andy goes, well, I'm going to cut it down the guts. And Hayden goes, that won't change the way it's cooked. And then they checked it. And they said it was cooked really well. But yeah, Melissa's like, maybe not all of this. And they were like, streamline it. And then I thought Jock was really good. He's like, what you need to do is pick 2 or 3 elements and focus. And just focus, because that steak, a bad chef can't cook that steak like that.
No.
Focus on your key elements. Don't worry about the extra. And target what you do. And I'm like, that's really good advice. What you possibly would have got was a lot of, well, should you really be doing all of this? Raised eyebrow, walks away.
Yeah.
And I liked the fact they gave genuine feedback.
It was a conversation, and none of it was invalid. It all had a purpose, so great.
I thought as well that, I said the idea of the advice of never do this again, which was the last bit of advice. Yeah. Like, Hayden, never do this again.
And that's Melissa Leong. She's no bullshit.
No, that was the never do this again. She didn't say the never do. That was Jock said that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Jock said never do this again.
Wow.
She was the one who said don't all of this. Maybe don't cook everything.
That's right.
And then Jock said streamline it. Never do this again.
Perfect.
I like the fact that judging used real words. I like the fact that they showed time on the dishes that deserved time. The ones that were really good. And again, they did show the montage of mediocrity.
Yeah.
But if you listen, the only one I really heard them smash was Linton. And even then they didn't smash Linton. They just said that there were a couple of elements that weren't where they should have been, but a couple of things were really good.
Yeah.
And I liked that, again, they gave genuine feedback. They didn't lie and say it was all fantastic, and they didn't lie and say it was all shit. They said, this bit's good and this bit's really good. This bit you've got to improve on, and you know that flavour's out. I also liked the fact that there were everything felt like a genuine human reaction. Like when there was that moment between Jock and Laura, and we talked about it before, it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like they'd scripted it or said to Jock, you should really have an emotional moment when Laura comes up.
Yeah.
And the judges didn't try to go overboard to paint the idea of, we're not playing favourites. They were just normal people interacting.
Yeah.
And when you looked behind them, the faces of everyone behind told the story that none of them were there going, this is favouritism.
Yeah.
Like everyone was there just really loving the food and the story, and like you could just see everyone behind them. They all know how hard this is.
Yeah. I mean, I get why people get emotional and get teary and stuff, but
it's episode 1.
It's episode 1.
That's the only criticism I have was we had a lot of people getting teary very early. And again, you've got emotionally, much like the music person, you've got nowhere to go.
No, and I was like, Jess was in full Jess mode.
Okay. We have to talk Jess crying.
Okay.
I think it was the edit that wasn't kind. Because it looked like Reynolds put up a great dish and Jess threw a tantrum. Now, that's not what happened.
No.
Because Jess said later on, I didn't finish my dish properly and that's why I'm upset. But they made it look like Reynolds served his dish.
And she's like, I can't compete with that
cry. Reynolds did that, Jess burst into tears and went, I'm horrible and can't compete.
And they already said, she's got she's got a messy bench. Like, that's the height of...
So again, the only thing that was a more traditional MasterChef edit that I didn't really like was the way they edited that for Jess to make it look like it was a tantrum post-Reynolds. When in reality, she didn't finish the plate and she was disappointed in her first dish.
And the editing did have her running around a bit, and I was expecting Helen Hunt to walk out and start trying to launch a cyclone censoring
We're gonna
machine.
twist her!
Yeah. Or Dorothy and running through trying to get away before she got swept up in it.
Looking around, we witch of the West over there. They walk over. Who represents the Lollipop Guild here? No,
just a witch on a Vespa.
So, I thought the other good part of the judging was we asked the right questions, but it wasn't just about the countries. They understand food. They understand these people understand food. What I like about this is they're not playing anybody for fools.
No.
Like, there is an expectation if you are back in this series, you now know something about food.
Yep, and you've got something to offer.
And so they're not asking the questions at a level of someone who's supposed to be a rank beginner, because you're not. Right? If you've come back in, most of these people have experience in restaurants. This is why when we're talking about people who might win the competition, we've talked a lot about Tessa, for example, and we like Tessa.
Yep.
Right? We're big fans of Tessa.
She's been out for a year.
She has a mountain of competition here that I think is going to be very hard to overcome because of the experience and breadth of experience that they have. She's just come out of a series where they basically had to be serving the same thing over and over again and had to cook a certain way.
Yeah.
And she hasn't had the chance that others have had to go and do the wide range of things.
And develop herself and find her kind of feet in the
And I think this is where
foodie world.
I think this is where you'll get Tessa and Simon will probably struggle a bit.
Yeah.
Is that they just haven't had the chance to do what others have had the chance to do.
But I'm excited for them to be in the room with
I
all
think
these
they'll learn a
people
lot.
because I think, like, from what I understand, they're not in a MasterChef house this season. There's no. I don't think we'll get flashes back to a MasterChef house.
No, so I think we're going to get a lot of learning going on.
Yeah, but there'll be opportunities for interaction and learning and yeah.
I think that'll be fantastic. So I think that's genuinely something that can be looked forward to. Now, when they called everybody forward for the pin, they talked about the 4 major dishes they were happy with.
Yeah.
So you had Reynolds came up. You had Laura came up.
Yeah.
You had
No, it wasn't.
Reynolds, Laura.
No, it was what's his eclair.
Oh yeah, I almost
Eclair.
forgot. Amelia's Eclair. They had 4.
Yeah.
And Dani.
Yes.
They were the 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amelia was the one I was forgetting. And again, this is something we're going to have a lot of in this series early on. I forgot about that person. Oh yeah. Right. Amelia's Eclair, by the way, we've just watched a series of the Great British Bake Off where they couldn't make choux pastry.
Oh my fucking God.
And again, you're going, Great British Bake Off, choux pastry, no, they were horrible. It was absolutely horrible.
Fuck me.
Twice they did it, twice it was terrible. Amelia could go into British Bake Off and teach them how to do choux.
Yes.
That Eclair
It was perfect.
was sensational.
And the flavour profiles, its presentation, it was beautiful.
So they had those 4.
I'm a fan of Eclair's Amelia and I'm a fan of you.
But what I was really impressed with was before they got to those 4, they sent everybody out of the kitchen
Yep.
and had a genuine conversation about the judging.
Yep, also gave
Which they
everyone a
filmed.
chance to relax,
Yep,
you know?
everyone goes outside, but then they had a genuine conversation. They recorded it and they showed you more. It wasn't the whispered, how do you think he did? Oh, not bad. How do you think he did? Not bad. There was a genuine conversation around this food did this, this, this. This one did this, this, this. I thought this dish was balanced beautifully and I thought this dish did this. And you could hear more of the judging, which is what the audience has been screaming for.
Yep,
How are you judging this? Show us.
exactly. And I'm glad it went to Dani because I don't think Reynolds got anything to worry about. No. You know, his level of skill and stuff,
Reynolds didn't need the pin.
He didn't. We'll see him for many weeks to come.
Reynolds didn't need the pin. Dani probably could do with the pin.
Yeah, Dani, she doesn't have the level of
exposure and chances that Reynolds had.
Absolutely.
Through Coy and his other business ventures.
And I'm not saying Reynolds didn't work hard for everything.
On the
that
contrary,
he's doing.
Reynolds
No.
worked amazingly hard.
Yeah.
But I think it sets the season up better that she's got the pin.
Yep.
Because it puts a little bit of a
And they reminded us she's had 3 pins in the past.
Yep. So she's had them before. So it's not a case of well, she's never had one of
We're
those.
taking pity on the poor
exactly.
woman who's only been able to go home and have children.
Those 4 dishes tonight that were the 4 they picked. Any one of those 4 could have had the pin.
Yeah, would have been happy with
it.
it.
All good quality. Overall, I thought that the idea of the show was great. I thought that the execution was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think there's obviously going to be more things. They're going to have more of the judges' personalities come out. They're going to have more of the contestants' personalities. You need to remember, this is the first episode with 24 people back in there.
Yep.
It's a busy episode. Like, again, the podcast tonight, for example, is more us laying groundwork rather than the normal weird shit.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of groundwork to lay.
Absolutely.
Like, we've got to lay some railroad tracks down. If you've seen Wallace and Gromit, we've got to lay the railroad tracks down before we can actually start doing anything.
Yeah, the only thing that I know I'm going to have to brace myself in the whole MasterChef season is that fucking catching the end of the fucking project. Like tonight, oh my God, I was ready to throw something at the TV.
Fat shaming alive and well.
Fat shaming. Oh, here we are in a pandemic. They're talking to Poe and they're like, oh, we're all getting a bit chubby now with stuck at home eating. It's like, be fucking glad you've got a home and you've got food to eat. Oh, we should bring back The Biggest Loser. Yes, the most fucking mentally and physically damaging show on TV. We should bring that back because people with eating disorders and people who are just trying to fucking survive at home in the best way they can when they're homeschooling, working from home, dealing with being laid off, a multitude of things, possibly having a loved one that is experiencing COVID-19, or, they've had someone die, like a couple of friends of mine who've had family members die and only 10 people can go to the fucking funeral. Like, there is so many things that we have to deal with at this present time. We do not need that bullshit. So as far as I'm concerned, send fucking the project to isolation. Like, way out in fucking Antarctica with no fucking power. That's my rant for tonight. It's the only thing that I think we have to brace ourselves for. And possibly my rants after it.
So, this has been the Wacky and Zany washing up pot now. Look, what I want you everyone to do is tomorrow night we really get into the show proper. Look, Tonight is always an introduction night, regardless of what the show is. So, tomorrow night's where it's at. I want everyone to go onto our Instagram. There are 2 game cards. The one I read out tonight, and then there is the other one, which is only good for one night, which is the opening credits.
But sure, use it for the rest of the night.
If you want to use it every night to get drunk, go for it. But it's really only valid for the first night, tomorrow night. So please go and check that game card out. We'll talk about that game card in the next episode. We'll talk about the rest of the week for this game card. We will be back on Thursday.
Yep. Now, something that we mentioned earlier was making up a cocktail. Make yourself a Masterchef cocktail. Create a Poe cocktail. It might just be missing some chili sauce. It might all be chili sauce. Vodka and chili sauce. It's what Poe was missing.
Exactly. I think that you could make a Poe cocktail. You can make a cocktail of your favourite person. Let us know what's in it. Like, keep it somewhat relevant and legally safe. But beyond that, go for gold, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure Brandon Pangs will have cobram in it.
It's just olive oil and shards of glass.
And blood. It's a bloody cobram.
It's a bloody cobram.
It's a bloody cobram.
We are making a bloody cobram this week.
Oh, God, don't do that. I don't want to drink olive oil. Not again.
No, I reckon we could make shards of glass out of toffee shards.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
Sarah Tiong's has to include pork.
Just like a little curl of crispy pork.
Crispy crackling on top of it.
Yeah.
That could be really cool. So, you could.
Because on Contro, if you think of a suckling pig, you could have that kind of Contro orange liqueur base and then put that little crackle of pork on top.
Oh, you could 100%. No, again, if you create a MasterChef cocktail this week for the drinking game, please take a photo, show us on
Tell us the recipe.
Show us on Twitter. Tell everyone the recipe if you want everyone to drink it, if you're prepared for the legal liability that might come with that. We will obviously be back tomorrow on Twitter. We'll be back on Thursday night with a recap. At the moment, we're looking at 2 a week. Who knows if it'll be 2? Who knows what? There might be a call for an extra one. There'll also, you've got to remember, there will be interviews in here too. Yep. Right? So we may have episodes where we have guests. We may have episodes in the middle where we might have a random interview.
Yep.
Who the hell knows? We certainly, well, I do. But
one thing we probably won't have this year is our random Eurovision interlude.
No, we won't, definitely, because it's off. So, we won't do that. But we might do something around social media on that as we get closer when it would have happened.
Yep.
So, until Thursday night, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all then.
Woo!